All right, everyone, we waited for some time. Of course, Donald Trump comes out and says, well, we're going to do some different things with the budget. Don't worry about it. We're making the economy great again. And he's had some degree of success, by the way, doing so. There's a reason that his approval stopped falling and began to eke back upwards and is now somewhere probably in the mid-40s. He's doing, relatively speaking, pretty okay considering the absolute tidal wave of pure unadulterated hate and stupidity aimed his way by the entire corporate media 24/7 for an entire year. He did pretty well at surviving their nonsense, and they're finding it harder to attack him now that people have wage growth and stuff. It was funny when they tried to say that the jobs report for the last month had been weak. And it's like, a week before, they had been saying it was the Obama economy and Trump was just continuing what Obama was doing. Then something went wrong, it was the Trump economy. And now that the wage reports come out, they were higher. Now it's the Obama economy again. So Obama, remember, he gets to, for the rest of time, Obama is responsible for everything that ever goes right in the country. He is the savior. He is the new Jesus fucking Christ. And Donald Trump is Hitler. So if anything goes wrong, just blame him. It'll be like Bush. Bush leaves office. Years later, they're still trying to blame him. No, he was a shitty president, but that doesn't mean he's responsible for bullshit that Obama did. Yeah, he starts the NSA bullshit. He doesn't continue it. He's not in office anymore. Obama was the one that was responsible. People think that he's, again, the savior. But now Trump has come out. And the one thing that he didn't do is slash spending. He lowers taxes, appreciated. By the way, next year I'll save several grand because he did. I'm feeling really positive about his restructuring of the tax system. I only wish he had gotten rid of the self-employment tax for people who aren't making considerable salaries. There's a difference between entrepreneur in the sense of, hey, I edit and write books and I self-publish them and I make YouTube videos. That's a little bit different from I have an actual brick and mortar business. I think you should probably, eventually those two should probably be differentiated. Right now there's not as much of an incentive for people to do maybe a side job, self-employed, to add even more oomph to the economy. Oh, we could. Trust me, I sell books overseas. That means people are taking foreign currency and pumping it into the U.S. economy when they're doing that. Because Amazon's a U.S. firm. I think it's a great thing for the economy. You should be encouraging way more of that. You should encourage people to sell to foreign countries and get some exporting going. But now Trump is taking care of the second part of the equation, which is, hey, we need to cut spending too. But it's problematic, and I'll tell you why. I think that cutting spending is great. I would cut taxes further. He's suggested maybe a second tax cut round. I would support it. I would cut them further. I would cut them across the board. People who, I would add whole new groups of people to lower brackets that don't have to pay anything, to tell the truth. People who are wealthy would pay less. People who are poor would pay less. And it would be scalar in nature, of course, which means that the left would say, oh, well, the rich are saving more than the poor. Yeah, because they pay more. There's a point to that. When I'm giving $1,600 just to my state, I'm not exactly a rich bitch here. I have to give the state $1,600 to fix a couple of potholes. I don't even benefit from giving them that money. They're not helping me with it. But I still have to pay them an inordinate sum because I'm self-employed. You don't even want to know how much I owed the federal government on my taxes. It was in the five-figure range. Let's just say that. But here's the thing. Now, don't just cut taxes. That adds to the deficit. Reduce spending. Oh, what a novel idea. See, here's the problem. This has always been the problem. Congress can't agree what to cut. They all agree that when they talk about it, they say, yeah, we need spending cuts. We need to restrain spending. Unless they're like really out there on the left. Everyone else, the center left, the centrists, the center right, the further right, evangelicons, libertarians, everybody says we need to cut the size of federal government. It's pork, it's bloated, it's a problem. We're spending too much. We're spending ourselves into oblivion. They all agree. Then you get them down and tell them, okay, what are we going to cut? They can't agree. You'll never get more than 50% of Congress to agree on any cut. You say, well, the military budget's enormous. We spend more than Russia, China, the UK, France, and everyone else combined. Our military is absolutely supreme. We could probably cut a few corners on this. Oh, no, we can't do that. You'll endanger our national security, say the Republicans. Welfare, we do a lot of, so we could compact these programs together, slash a very small proportion of these budgets, save billions of dollars. Oh no, you can't do that. Some poor person might suffer, say the Democrats. Oh, what about NSA spying? You know, the libertarians might support cutting, and everyone else thinks that it'd be doomsday if we didn't have this fairly nouveau program in swing. It's like, oh, we can't conduct surveillance on criminal targets and terrorists without conducting surveillance on everybody else. You know, the former head of the NSA says it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. But somehow it's helpful. We can't cut anything there. We can't consolidate. We can't cut any bureaus. Now, even bureaus that have been created in the last 20 years, they are sacrosanct. They are sacred cows, and we can't cut their budget by a single penny. We can't even have a Reagan-style spending freeze at this point. So it's pretty much doomed. Unfortunately, despite the fact that it's a great idea, if I were in charge, look, if you gave me unilateral power, I would cut taxes by 50%, and I would cut most of the federal budget. I'd say if it needs to be done, the states can handle it or a private business can come along and do it. Federal government doesn't need to be involved. Let's streamline things. Look, there is a peak. Here's where I disagree with the NCAPs. They think you need to have like basically statelessness, or the weakest possible state you can possibly manufacture while actually having a republic-style government. Or you just privatize that to corporations, I guess will appoint your judges and shit. Like I don't know how the justice system at that point works. I guess the judges are definitely going to have a day job. Might be a little bit of a problem finding someone to serve on a jury too without violating the NAP. I'm not an ANCAP. I think that there is a point at which, pragmatically speaking, you have peak efficiency with the amount of governance and bureaucracy, taxation and so forth that you have. The problem is that we exceeded that point 100 years ago. The problem is peak efficiency within the country involves 90% less government and rules and taxes and regulations and burdensome bureaucracy than we currently have. We need more than a little cutting, and nobody has the balls to do it. We need essentially a new revolutionary political paradigm to take hold in the country where by and large the whole population agrees, hey, you know, it's not working for us. Can we go back to the way things were in like the roaring 20s or something? Or even further. It's funny. We managed to have roads and major infrastructure. Skyscrapers started going up, you know, to the best of their technology at the time. Talking Art Deco mode. Things were already gumming along. Electricity was sprawling out across the country, and railroads were going up, and roads. You had automobiles and everything. Dams were built. People farmed, people worked, they got along largely, people weren't shooting themselves down in the street with Tommy guns. Things worked as a society despite the fact that government was largely absent from your day-to-day life. Most of the taxes that exist now didn't exist, or they were at the state level. They weren't nearly as large as they are now. We're at, you know, extremely high tax levels for most individuals. Now, loopholes aside, of course, for Walmart and a few of these other very lucky large corporations that can buy senators. It's basically how they get along. It's how they crush their small business competitors. People owned land at higher rates and more of it, generally speaking. Family farm could still exist. I don't think that it defies modernity to suggest that we can go back to that kind of governance, because we can go look around the world, we can find other examples of countries that are significantly less taxed, significantly smaller bureaucracies, and yet, in some cases, they have advantages over us. Maybe the Baltic states. I think it's Estonia. You can actually, can't you file your taxes like a single page online? That's how you file your taxes. What's the actual tax rate there? For the average person, it's probably considerably less than here. People manage to make ends meet. People manage to have dignified lives, do what they want to do. There are countries where there's basically no gun control and people can own machine guns, and magically their gun crime rate's not that bad. You think of some parts of Eastern Europe where having a fully automatic version of the AK-47 is not against the law to my knowledge. For some reason, you don't get a lot of mass shootings there. I wonder why. I mean, it's a polite society. No. What we definitely need to slash spending. Trump is trying to deliver at least a little bit of that. I support that. Or whatever we can cut, we should cut. The problem is Congress will stand in his way. They're too busy with their sacred cows. They just can't agree that anything needs to be cut. That's because a majority of Congress at some point in the past voted to have that spending in the first place, getting rid of it. It should be easier to cut spending than to allocate and increase it. It should be easier to cut taxes than to increase them. Unfortunately, the world of Congress is topsy-turvy. Logic there works in reverse. It's like if you want to stop gun crime, you take guns away from law-abiding citizens. If you want to stop alcoholism, you force alcoholics underground so that they start drinking a basement gin or box wine that literally they take the stuff, shove it in their closet in a gallon of warm water, and then a week later they guzzle it down. That's the way Congress logic works. Congress logic, we need to do something about drugs. Let's develop a scheduling system that makes no sense and then beat people over the head for mere possession. That'll help. That'll really, they'll come forward and tell the police who the drug dealers are. We'll throw them in jail too. Somehow, they're going to be noble. They're going to say, okay, it's only 6 months for minor possession. I'm willing to risk that to get this evil drug dealer off the streets. That's the way that Congress logic works. It's not logic at all. They're a bunch of bullshitters. They're morons, by and large. Rand should just take over the Senate. They let Rand run things. Appoint him to head the Senate. Maybe something will get accomplished. That's about all. Peace out.